Group sparking. The brochure on the rental counter described it as a pre-Civil War Appalachian courting ritual, where couples navigated the twilight woods with a single flint lantern. The legend claimed that if the flame survived the devil's breath of the hollows, the bond was unbreakable. But for Mark, this Valentine's Day trip wasn't about the legend. It was about the silence. Back in Columbus, silence was a luxury he couldn't afford. Mark ran a furniture business, and his girlfriend, Sarah, worked remotely, but their real full-time job was Toby, Sarah's brain-injured brother. A car accident 3 years ago had left Toby with the cognitive function of a toddler. Their romance usually consisted of synchronized lifting to get Toby from his wheelchair to the bed. This 5-day trek was their first Valentine's Day alone in 3 years, a desperate attempt to remember who they were before the accident. "Ready to spark?" Sarah asked, adjusting her osprey pack. She looked lighter, younger, finally free of the weight of caretaking. They were joined by Dmitry and Oksana, a stoic Ukrainian couple, and their assigned guide, Otis. Otis was a massive problem. He was a 23-year-old shop clerk wearing a staff t-shirt, 2 sizes too big, clearly pulled from the desk because the real guide had called in sick. He kept checking his map like he was cramming for a test he hadn't studied for. As they prepped at the trailhead, an old woman with skin like crumpled paper and the smell of stale tobacco grabbed Mark's arm. Her grip was surprisingly strong. "The boy doesn't know the way," she rasped, cataracts clouding her eyes. "You think the woods are empty, but they are full of teeth. You need to pay the toll." But Mark laughed it off, telling Sarah it was just local flavor to sell honey sticks, and they followed the rookie guide into the tree line. They made camp 10 miles deep. The silence was aggressive. At 1:15 a.m., Mark woke up to urinate. The woods should have been dead quiet, but a sound was coming from Otis's tent. The guide's Baofeng radio was crackling in a dead zone. It was broadcasting the rhythmic sound of a rocking chair, followed by a soft, digital cooing. A baby monitor. Mark crawled to Otis's tent. The kid was already awake, staring at the green display, vibrating with terror. "It's a atmospheric skip," Otis stammered, his voice jumping an octave. "Radio waves bouncing off the ionosphere. From a town over the ridge. My manager told me it happens." It was a desperate lie to keep himself from screaming. Mark was too tired to argue physics. He forced himself to accept the logic to keep Sarah calm, and they went back to sleep. Valentine's Day broke with fog, and Oksana was gone. "She is exploring," Dmitry said, eerily calm. "She likes to walk." Otis looked like he was going to be sick. His authority crumbled. "No way," Otis said, his voice high and tight. "Protocol says we hold position. I can't lose a client. We are going back." But Dmitry cut him off, stepping into the kid's personal space. "We do not go back. She knows the waypoint. We go forward." Otis shrank back. He was a desk clerk, terrified of the intense Ukrainian man. Against his better judgment, Otis nodded and led them deeper. Twilight hit. Mark was exhausted, but he missed the thin wire strung inches above the dirt. Mark's boot caught it, and he face-planted, his ankle twisting with a sickening crunch. "Ah, damn it!" Mark yelled. "Something tripped me." Otis ran over, frantic. He patted his pockets, then his pack. Oh God," Otis muttered, pacing. "I left the main kit at the shop. My dad got me this job. If the agency loses its license..." "You're the guide," Mark shouted. But Otis was useless, spiraling into a panic attack about his future. Dmitry stepped in immediately. He ripped a spare gray t-shirt from his pack and tightly bound Mark's swelling ankle without a word. Otis stopped pacing, looking wiry and stressed. "I'm done," he whispered. Missing girl. Hurt client. I am so fired. Desperate to salvage his career, Otis grabbed the cursed radio. He didn't scream. He spoke with resignation. Dispatch, Unit 4, situation, hiker with a busted ankle on the logging road near Sector 8, requesting pickup. Just get someone out here. They hobbled to a logging road. Suddenly, a white Ford F-150 tore around the bend, mud caking the plates. It arrived in record time. A man in a park ranger uniform jumped out. "Ranger Evans," the man said. Tall, crisp uniform. He walked straight to Mark and knelt in the dirt. "Let me see that leg." He probed the injury with professional hands. "Grade 3 tear. You need a hospital, son." He looked at the tripwire in the distance and lowered his voice. "That wire, that's bootleggers. They trap these ridges to protect their stills. You folks are in a bad spot. You need to clear out now." He reached into his belt pouch, tossed a sterile ace bandage to Otis, and kicked a sturdy piece of driftwood toward Mark. "Wrap him. Use that stick for support." He stood up and pointed at Dmitri. "I've got the search vehicle. You, come with me. We find the girl." He turned to Otis. "You, guide. Stick to Plan A. Take the injured man and his wife to the trailhead. Ambulance is 10 minutes out." "I go," Dmitri said instantly, climbing in. Sarah grabbed Mark's arm. "Wait," she whispered. "Why wouldn't he just drive us? You can't walk." But Mark wasn't listening. The sun had hit the ranger's badge. It wasn't metal. It was dull gold plastic with a seam down the side. A toy. "Mark?" Sarah pressed. "It doesn't make sense." But Mark just shook her off. His eyes drifted to the back of the truck. No license plate. Just mud. The fight or flight response had bypassed his logic. He didn't care about the ride. He just knew that man wasn't right. "I'm not sure. Let's just get back," Mark muttered, turning away as the engine gunned. The final mile was a blur of agony. When they finally broke into the main parking lot, Mark collapsed against the hood of Otis's dusty Honda Civic. A green SUV with the official National Park Service logo was idling there. A real ranger with a metal badge and tired eyes stepped out. "Otis?" the real ranger asked. "Your boss called it in. We've been waiting for you." "Ranger Evans took them," Mark wheezed, pointing at the trail. "The guy in the white Ford. He took Dmitri to find Oksana." The real ranger froze. He dropped his clipboard. "White Ford?" he whispered. I just passed a white Ford on the logging road 10 minutes ago." Mark felt the blood drain from his face. "You saw him?" "I stopped him," the real ranger said, his voice trembling. "I saw a guy in a truck coming down the fire road. I flagged him down. He told me it was a mix-up. Said the hikers were confused and everything was fine. He was wearing a uniform." "It was a costume," Sarah cried out. "He had a plastic badge." The real ranger looked sick. "I let him go," he whispered. "I stood right next to the truck. I didn't check the back. They never found the white Ford. They never found Oksana or Dmitri. The FBI believes the couple was likely bound and gagged in the bed of that truck, inches away from safety, listening to the real ranger accept the predator's lie and drive away. In the Appalachians, the line between romance and ruin is razor thin. The mountains don't care about your Valentine's Day plans. They only care about who pays the toll. Sometimes the friendly face offering a ride is just a mask for the darkness waiting behind the wheel. For more Appalachian horror stories, click here. I'm the Shadow Teller. Stay safe in the dark.